Kira on Twitter says, imagine doing this over an uncontacted tribe. It's obviously a very, very irresponsible thing to do, but it's also kind of funny. The idea, like, how you would shape their entire culture for generations. I suspect you have.
Well, the cargo cults, you know about those, right?
Yeah.
The cargo cults.
Yeah.
So it exists. It exists right now where American GIs and stuff have just like flown over places in the world, and they worship the planes now.
Yep. The most construction that you can ever find Africans or similar peoples doing is when they built the like airport towers to try to attract the planes back because the planes carried free food. They literally built airport towers out of sticks and mud and rocks because they thought, well, that was there when the planes came and it isn't now, and the planes are not coming anymore, so let's build one and then the planes will come.
Yeah.
And not just that, they built their own planes out of mud and sticks and wood. Violating the Prime Directive. Nighthawk, that is kind of what happened there. But this would be a whole nother level of cargo cult. To be fair, though, they would never believe, this may not last that many generations, because the third generation would never fucking believe this actually happened, would they? But maybe. You says if I was a billionaire, I'd absolutely do that. Yeah, maybe.
Have you heard of the Paraha language or the Paraha people in South America?
No, I don't think so.
It's really fascinating. They don't have any object permanence because they don't have words for things. They just don't have like nouns essentially in their language. It's insane. It's so bizarre.
That is weird.
So, it's a very much evidence of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis that reality only exists to people if they have words to describe it. So, for example, like a European plane would land down in their river. You know, what do you call it? This river planes, right? And they would make these incredibly detailed replicas of the plane. But the second that the Europeans left or the Americans left, they would just abandon the toy that they had made, the replica, because they couldn't understand or remember what it even was. Why did we make this thing? They couldn't remember it because they didn't have words for it. It's a language that only has 2 vowels and I think like 4 consonants. So 4 consonants and 2 vowels. So it's like extremely restricted language. And it really, they seem to be very nice people. They're very welcoming of outsiders, sort of. You bring them stuff, you give them gifts, then they're welcoming. But they have no recollection. They have no object permanence, essentially, as a culture, because they don't have the language to describe it. It's fascinating.
There's more to this. So that's that step. And then the next step up, the next quote tweet, is Nihilist GF saying, I hate that white people keep saying this same shit thinking it's funny. Your overused drone joke is literally just racism. Oh God, what? Not racism. The idea of doing it to an uncontacted tribe, that's racist somehow.
Oh, okay.
And then the response to that, nihilists be like, nothing really matters except when it comes to the most trivial shit imaginable. And it is incredibly trivial. The idea that doing this to an uncontacted tribe is racist, like, what is practically important about racist? In that case, nothing. In that case, it doesn't matter because they're not part of your own culture. The problem with racism is it's an anti-meritocratic and personally unfair way to treat individuals because it's by a collective standard, and that doesn't apply to individuals, and that will lead to your society missing out on potential avenues of merit by taking the best of other races and integrating them into your society and not taking those that do not successfully integrate. That is the reason we care about racism. It's very different than how it's used by the establishment today because it's been supplanted and used it's a psyop tool essentially today. It's become that. But how is that relevant here? It just isn't. And so to most people, well, not most people, but most retarded people, most leftists, racism is a race involved, and are white people benefiting, or are members of another race in some way denigrated? If that's the case, then it's just magically racism and therefore completely disallowed. Why? There's no reason. If you ask them, they wouldn't be able to follow that chain back. They would just end up making some sort of moral attack on you if you try to ask them questions about it. There is no reason to think of racism in that way, so it's just nonsense. But the problem with this is the prime directive
go
problem. The problem is the ethical concern of ruining that culture. But is that even a problem? They're the same species as us, and maybe the study of what happens with that cultural change is more important than the ethical concern. That's to be argued, but I don't know.